Here, Sergey, welcome to the second hour. Yes, go on, please.
Okay, so let me continue. First of all, let me ask you if you have any questions about my previous information that I've shared
No,
with you.
no, still no question. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. All right, so let me continue with the things that we started during our previous section. So, and that was the question: how do we know that what the employer brand is? And we have said that if the reputation is the collective opinion of what people say about your brand when you're not there, then finding what they're saying, listening to them somehow, it's going to be a really, really good practice. And at least this is quite important for the brand. So, in this case, we do understand that if we listen to all people, all their opinion, we will not find enough resources for that. So, what we need to do is we need to spot, let's say, that the opinion from key segments that is going to be valuable for our brand. In this case, the practice that is called audience segmentation is going to be used, is going to be adopted by the employer brand. Audience segmentation is going to be one of the most basic tools, but quite effective tools. So it will enable you to understand what your employees think and what people who do not work for your business think of you as an employer. In this case, there are two basic segments that you need to have a look at. First of all are the employees in your brand, the employees in the company that are still working in your company, and those people who do not work, who could be treated as potential workers, or those ones, maybe some of them are employed with competitors, but people who are not employed with your brand up to now, and what could be their opinion about your brand. In this case, uh, if we speak about audience segmentation in the company, within the company, we first of all need to define what sort of principles we're going to use to define them. For example, we need to have a look at what each group, if we group that, if we make certain groups, what each group is likely to need from the organization in this stage of their career. It could be money, it could be bonuses, it could be career, it could be whatever it could be. I mean, then a combination of their needs. We also need to define as the principal what their roles and their functions are and their responsibilities, and if they are empowered to make decisions, if they are, let's say, the top management or the middle management or just the staff who work as this notion must hire. And we also need to identify what the market context is like. So, using these three principles, we need to segment the people who work in the company and divide it into a few different types. In this case, I would like to ask you one quick question. I would like to speak now about the typical employee audience segments. Imagine that you are the president of the company or the person who is doing this kind of employer branding research. What are your ideas to what kind of segments you would divide the audience in your company, the workers in your company? How many of them will be, and what principles you would use for those?
First of all, I will divide these audience in terms of demographic aspects, maybe. I mean, in terms of ages, gender, experience at work, experience at sector, education levels. At the same time, I will classify them according to their positions. I mean, managers have requests, or upper and lower levels. They have different. At the same time, um, maybe I will apply personality test, and according to the result of personality test as well as general knowledge test, I will classify them in a different way too. And from those, I will try to collect their personal ideas to improve the working conditions, the payment system. I mean, all HR functions. In terms of all HR functions, I will try to ask their opinion, their needs, their expectations, and at the same time, this will be the case, as you said, for the existing employees. For the potential ones, maybe with the help of some external companies, I will conduct market research on potential workforce members. So with this way, I will first collect the data. At the same time, with the help of my management team, I will consider, maybe I will conduct SWOT analysis, okay, to see the current situation of the company. And then after conducting SWOT analysis, I will prepare strategies, and then I will turn these strategies into tactics or daily plans, etc.
All right, so thank you very much. I guess that you will have such a volume of work then to do with all of these detailed research and analysis. All right. So thanks for that. Now I'm going to focus at what kind of types of workforce we're going to divide our audience at. First of all, as you have said, using this demographic principle, I'm going to sort out these senior leaders. Those people who are more concerned with the company performance and strategy, who are very much influenced and who influence the company also. Now, the size of their role and the influence is going to be one of the main principles also. They might be official leaders or they might be, let's say, non-official leaders. But anyway, those people are the key players and we need to separate them as a separate segment. We also need to have a look at the impact they might be able to make to the strategy of the company, to the development, to employer branding in general. So, what they think about the organization is what they read in these financial reports and less what the culture in the organization is like. Again, senior leaders, especially those ones who are working in the company for a long time, they influence the company, they influence the strategy, the techniques, and also the employer brand in itself as a practice. The second group can be used here. We can call them new joiners. These are the people who are working in the company from a few weeks up to 2 years. And their view on business is generally should be reasonably positive, because they work in just, for a short period of time and they couldn't get all those, negativity from the company or outside the company. They take into consideration the comparative strength of the brand, and they also know, because they used to work in other companies, they have something to compare, unlike those people who are working in the company, let's say that for 20 years. And they also remember this recent experience at a competitor. That is why their opinion is also quite important. We need to find that because they know what the situation is out there on the market. I would say that some of those new joiners can be, let's say, that frequent changes, and they could change their works fast. And in this case, we also can grab some more detailed information from them. Some of them, let's say, are more constant and they used to work in companies for a few years, but still anyway, their opinion and their information is going to be quite reliable, quite interesting for the company to form its employer branding activity.
And for new comers, maybe we can benefit from their fresh ideas.
Yes,
as well as
sometimes.
If the newcomer belongs to a different nationality, we can also benefit from this nationality differences.
You're right, but in this case, let me give one quick remark, and I would like to discuss that with you. First of all, thank you so much that you have raised this question, because I have some ideas and I've got some experience to that. While entering a company or a school I used to work at, I just paid attention that it was a combination of, let's say, national difference, mental difference, and maybe experience difference. Okay, let me say what I mean. When I came into the company, my wife came into the company. It was a school, and other schools that I used to work at, I started to come up with initiatives, with something, with some kind of improvements were based on my experience in order to, to improve, to give some impulse for the better development of the company. Unlike my Turkish colleagues, counterparts, how do you call them? I mean, I just paid attention that very few of them started to express their initiative or started to come up with any kind of fresh ideas in order to improve the companies. I just paid attention to that. We discussed that with my wife and say that, okay, that maybe, probably they have ideas, but they don't want to share that with the business, with the company, because they're not very sure that they're going to continue working with them. So why to contribute?
Yes, it can be. It can be.
Still, if you're looking for fresh ideas, I mean, for some people during the interview, because usually during the interview, I start to come up with those ideas with something, and that is why my interview is, quite interesting, at least to me. But when I look to other people, they do what they're assigned to do. And do they have ideas? Maybe they do, but they don't share that. They don't want to share that.
They
Maybe
want to
because
trust, first of all. They want to trust. They want to make their position as guaranteed. Maybe then, later.
most probably because of that, right? So they want to secure their position, and then afterwards maybe they will, contribute to the company. But this is, I think, that one of the downsides of what business doesn't do to them. I mean, if they try to stimulate, to motivate them to share ideas, I just paid attention. Only very few of them do that. Is that because of the no? I don't think that this is just a national difference in this aspect, but this is a kind of a combination. Maybe I don't know. I start sharing that with them, but they're doing that, let's say, in a more intelligent way, in a more sustained way, because they don't do that until they fully trust the company, as you have correctly said. Okay, thanks very much for participation. Let me continue. Another segment that we're going to focus on is going to be a long-serving staff. So these are generally the people who work in the company for a long time. It doesn't really matter what sort of position it could be. It could be a staff position, but if the person keeps on working in the company for a few decades, then this person has a certain idea about the company, and let's say that sometimes those people are called tradition keepers of those companies, even their position is quite low. Still, those people's opinion are important, and they are also able to give valuable insight into the business as soon as they have noticed how their brand changed over the time. Maybe they started with a very low, and when the brand was absolutely, not known, not popular, and then as soon as the time went on and on, they lived this life, they lived this brand development with the company. So they saw what it started with, how it developed, how it emerged to become a good brand, a reliable brand, whatever. So that is why the opinion is quite important. Now, another segment that we are going to focus on is going to be called as high performers, high potential, and the future leaders. Okay, these are the people I was speaking about, because they are, let's say, that the most difficult to retain and satisfy. We have already mentioned this sort of war for talent. So these are talented, top qualified workers, relatively young, with high potential, with this leader kind of qualities in there. People who are always demanded by the businesses out there, and their opinion is also very crucial, because generally they're quite intellectual, and they keep an eye on the latest changes, and they also have a critical opinion on the company. So that's very much important. Okay.
Yes.
Professor, will you excuse me for a second? I need to just do a very quick thing. Just 1 second. sorry for inconvenience. I'm back here. All right, another segment that's where I go into focus on. We call it the volume hires. These are the mass workers. Actually, these are generally their low-level staff, and there are very many of them. And actually, this is not the most difficult stuff to find and employ. Usually for low-level positions, I mean, in many companies, especially where high qualification is not that required, but still they need to do their routine jobs. And those kind of people are usually employed, as I said, in some, let's say, low-level positions, staff positions. But the thing is that the high percentage of these staff, as soon as there are many of them, they have got their own networks of their friends and families, and potentially, with the use of these networks, they can reach extremely wide number of people with their opinion. We cannot underestimate the opinion of those people, even if they are low level, let's say in low level positions, because as soon as there are many of them, and as soon as the opinion is being spread out there with the help of their networks, this opinion is, going out there. So with the help of this opinion, they also form this employer brand. So what they think of an employer really matters, and it is important because this information is going to be a reference for other potential mass workers. So that is why we do not need to underestimate their opinion. Functional and critical workforce groups, they're different and they're critical. We also need to have a look, especially those ones who work in a company and have a very special position and purpose. In this case, let me speak about the tools for understanding your internal audiences.
Dear Sergey, I want to add one more segment.
Please.
When I listen to you, I remember one more segment. What about your peer employees? By saying peer, I mean they have worked with you, but because of one reason or more reasons, they have to separate from the company. So if there is a chance to meet them again, to communicate with them again, maybe we can ask the main reasons of separations from our company. So with this way, we can have valuable inputs for our future work. Maybe this is option one in terms of segments. And again, during during your presentation, I also remember, of course, classifying audience according to different points. It's okay, but it needs lots of time, energy, and budget. Maybe we have less time, or we want to have more quick solutions in order to hasten the process. Maybe we can benchmark employer branding from another successful company, or we can benefit from some special reports or articles written by academicians about employer branding. So with this way, we can maybe hasten our process. What do you think?
What you are describing now, and what I am here presenting in these slides, this is so-called an ideal situation, and to me is just the main purpose of my presentation is just to give an idea of what kind of instruments. So first of all, what kind of idea is behind this branding, and what are the components in that, and what kind of tools you're going to use in there. But of course, I agree with you, and you're absolutely right, saying that for every particular business, for every particular situation, you need to tailor, you need to design an individual plan. And it could be based on budget, based on the marketing context, based on the economical situation of the company and the position of the business also. So all of those factors have to be taken into consideration while deciding on what tools to use. My idea now is just to provide the reference to, to the big picture, to the whole combination of instrument, tools, factors, ideas, and finally, but again, this is a general information. This is not a road plan, how to do that. You have correctly said that because of the tight budget, because of the some limitations, we need to redesign. We need to design the plan with this idea. Yes, I think so. That it has to be an individual plan for each particular company. So that is why I think that, as you have mentioned, those external companies like consultancy companies, their idea will be to analyze the company's current position, the company's workforce, the company's perspectives, and the tradition also, and how valuable the brand is. And based on this analysis, they have to come up with the plan, integrated plan that will summarize these ideas, these techniques, these activities that the company would like to employ and that the company can afford to employ because of limitations and budgets and what have you. So this presentation is so-called the big picture, a number of instruments, a number of factors, and you have to again tailor that to your particular situation. At least this is how I treat that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let me continue with the tools and if you don't have any more questions or remarks.
At this context, no. Okay.
All right. So in this case, let me speak a little bit about the tools for understanding the internal audiences. First of all, you have mentioned that there are some other segments that you would like also to get some information from and you would like to use as the reference. But we said that, okay, we have spotted some segments and we would like to grab some information from them and to explore their opinion. But how we can do that? So what are the tools at our disposal that we have to investigate the aspect and to find out, to understand what the present situation is? Now I'm speaking about this internal workforce, the people in the company that work in a brand, for the brand, and how we can get this information from them. So can you please share your wonderful ideas with me?
Mm-hmm. So you mean the tools first?
Yes, the instruments and the tools, okay, and how we can get this.
First of all, I will conduct or I will benefit from roundtable, focus groups. At the same time, I can organize some certain platforms with the headline of "If I were the manager of the company." So I can organize this kind of free platforms to share their opinions with us. I can also conduct questionnaires online or manually. What else? I can also put suggestion box, for example, in the company. I will apply open door policy, for example. I can also give special bonuses or based on rewarding systems if I hear their voices, for example, or positive suggestions or any suggestions, positive or negative. So I think these are the possible tools.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing your ideas with me. Again, when you say that you start the round table, I remember my own experience. Okay, we sat at the round table, and I remember that let's say that the department manager started to ask for ideas, and people were just looking at each other, and they couldn't generate even a single idea. I mean, there were some some standard ones, but those ones didn't have any practical idea. Maybe I was in the wrong company, in the wrong environment, the wrong time in that place. We need to think about, right, how to stimulate that. And maybe that's mainly because of what kind of audience you're going to have. If you have those leaders, if you have high performers, if you have people with ideas, in this case, you can rely that they will generate ideas. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe it's not going to be that much reliable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But if I were the manager, free platforms, you can use it, I think.
Okay, let's say that
without giving their names, they can just offer their suggestion in order to improve something, for
yes,
example.
it's possible, but in this
Or
case, I guess
sometimes we saw some special characters. For example, I know Mr. Bew. Who is Mr. Bew? Just an animation character. He is no one, but normally everybody can play Mr. Bew role. So according to Mr. Bew, there is one problem in the company, and in order to solve that problem, you must do this, or you must change this, or in order to benefit from or apply for employee branding, you must do this and you mustn't do this, something like that. So who is telling this? Mr. Bew. But normally I will be the Mr. Bew, you will be the Mr. Bew. So everyone can play Mr. Bew role. So if there will be a negative answer coming from the manager against the offer, then who is guilty? Mr. Bew. Not I am, not you are. That's all.
I think that's a very valuable idea, you know, those kind of corporate games when people play games and maybe, you know, the ideas are coming not purposely, but you know, as you said, they're behind the character. They can generate some of the ideas and some of the actions without responsibility or without the chance to be punished for that. I guess this is a wonderful idea, and I think that for corporate tactics, for employer brandings, it could be used, those kind of corporate games, right?
And also, based on monetary or non-monetary incentives, you can also get ideas, I think, from the workers. If you offer some
Right.
awards, incentives,
Yes, yes.
bonuses.
Yes, I do agree with that. For example, as maybe I've told you about that, maybe not. In the Soviet Union in Stalin's time, it used to be a really good stimulation for the initiative. And that is why, you know, there were so many technical improvements in there because people were stimulated for the improvement. So let's say that human resource management was designed so that any sort of initiative, any sort of improvement was stimulated financially, stimulated in any other way, but it was so. Then in the, let's say, the second half of the 50s, they broke that system when Khrushchev came. They broke that system, unfortunately, and that is why that was a very, very, you know, dramatic negative impact to that. But in Stalin's time, it was like this, and that is why the economy, you know, improved very, very fast. Can you believe that it was a great, you know, disaster of the Second World War, and you know, even there were cards, you know, cards for food, for bread, for whatever. And even in 1946, everything was cancelled because it wasn't necessary. The economy was prosperous at that time. The economy was, you know, going up and up. So that is why this kind of stimulant motivation, it was the system that was made by the government on each company, each organization aligned their strategies, their tactics with this system. And for economy, it was absolutely brilliant. Right, okay, you have mentioned some of them, and let me speak about the tools that we have here. So first of all, I would like to benefit from surveys. We know that this is one of the most common ways in order to find out the information and the opinion from people. Professor, can I ask you for, because I guess that we have come to the end of the second term.
We have 45 seconds.
45 seconds, I guess, will not be enough for me because I'm going to speak in more details
so
in that.
just start with the first. Okay, let's summarize up to now. Okay, so from the first hour to the second, at the end of second hour, you have given more information about employer branding. Especially, you have underlined the segmentation of audience and as well as the possible tools which will be used for again in the process of employer branding. So as a first example, you will start to say something about surveys, but when? Just after the second break. So let's
Okay.
give break, another break for the duration of 10 minutes. See you.
Okay, see you in 10 minutes.